Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are continuing the HR series on my channel. A few weeks ago, I uploaded a HR Q&A and I got tons of questions in the comments. And one of the questions that I got was to do a video on the different branches of HR. I'm going to try to keep this video straight to the point and very brief. What I will be discussing today is basically from my own personal experience working in HR in Boston. HR might look a little different based on where you live, on the size of the company you end up working for, but the roles and the responsibilities pretty much look the same. Certain departments might have different titles, but HR is HR wherever you go, whether it's in the healthcare industry or in the tech industry. My experience in HR has been solely in the healthcare industry, and I go more in depth regarding my own personal experience in my last HR video. I will have that link below if you haven't watched it yet. I recommend watching that one first and then coming back to this one because I really dive in on the pros and cons of working in HR, and this one will solely be about the branches of HR. So before we jump in, make sure that you give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure that you subscribe. I would love to have you on my channel. And once you've done that, we can begin. So every company has an HR department. What most people don't realize is that within that HR department, there's like different little departments that do different things. So let's start with recruiting. The recruiting department is definitely the one where I have the most experience because that's literally been the last 6 years of my life, 5 or 6 years of my life. Depending on the size of your company, there's two different types of recruiter. There's a recruiter that solely phone screens, schedules interviews, and they're done. And I've been in that role, and that role is fine if you don't want a lot of responsibilities, but it gets boring super quick. I felt so stifled in that role of a recruiter, so I don't recommend it if you're looking for something more in your career. It is a great place to start if you are a new recruiter, just because you can learn the ropes and not feel overwhelmed. But most people don't stay in such a role for years. Unless you really like doing what you do in the company that you work for, then hey, more power to you. But the second type of recruiter is actually the most common one, and that is a full desk recruiter. In this role, you do absolutely all of the recruiting process. So not only do you source for candidates, but you also phone screen, you schedule interviews with hiring managers and the candidates. So you're working with not only the hiring manager's schedule, but you're also working with the applicant's schedule. And that can definitely get a little tricky because obviously everyone has different schedules, everyone has different needs. So I think that's an important component of a full desk recruiter. Definitely knowing how to manage two different calendars, and depending on the company that you work for, sometimes you do have to interview the candidate in person. Even though you might have had a phone interview, you still have to meet with them. So that is a third calendar that you have to manage, but it definitely gives you a lot more to do versus just a recruiter that only phone screens and sources. So as a full desk recruiter, not only are you sourcing and phone screening and interviewing, but you are also working with a hiring manager to create job postings. You attend job fairs, you manage job postings on job sites like Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Nurse Recruiter, LinkedIn is another big one. Nurse Recruiter if you're recruiting nurses, that just popped into my head because that's what I've used in the past. But you basically manage the job postings. If you work for a really good company, you have a marketing department that handles the job postings. But if you work for like a nonprofit that doesn't have that much of a budget, you will be doing all the job postings. So keep that in mind. What you actually do and how much you do actually depends on the size of the company that you work for. So definitely keep that in mind when you are interviewing with small and big companies, because job responsibilities definitely differ. If you work for a smaller company, you're going to do a lot more than if you work for a bigger company. There's more people and less, I don't want to say less stuff to do, but less pressure. Like you can go home at 5 versus a small company, you might be working more than 40 hours. So keep that in mind. but I've worked for a major hospital here in Boston, and my role as a full desk recruiter included initiating background checks, sending the offer, extending the offer, salary negotiation with the candidate. Normally in a big company, if you are a full desk recruiter, there isn't really a HR manager role. I felt like I was an HR manager at the hospital I was working at because I was doing so many different things, and I was basically with the applicant from the moment they applied until the moment they were hired, and then even then if they were terminated for whatever reason, I would be the person to process that. But full desk recruiters do a lot. Is that a cat? Like any other role in HR, you do have to be a patient person because you're going to have your bosses breathing down your throat. You're going to have the candidates asking for constant feedback, and then you're going to have hiring managers who are also down your throat because they want their position to be filled, and every hiring manager thinks that their job is the most important one. And sometimes you're going to have like 50 to 100 job openings at once that you have to fill, and each hiring manager thinks their opening is the most important one. So obviously they're going to want you to prioritize their role, but you have to give equal attention to every job. So definitely keep that in mind. Be patient. You have to be organized. You have to be able to speak your mind and stand your ground because you're going to be in big meetings. You're going to be in meetings where hiring managers who could be executives of a company asking you why their job role hasn't been filled in the last month, and you have to be able to speak up and explain to them why it hasn't been filled. If it's because of the job market, if it's because they said no to a million candidates, you definitely have to be comfortable enough to speak up and own your voice. Keep that in mind if you want to get into recruiting. If you don't like talking to people, then don't get into recruiting, and honestly don't get into HR because you're going to be miserable. And then the next branch of HR is benefits, and this one is pretty self-explanatory, and everyone probably has experience with this if you have ever held a job. And basically they deal with health insurance, dental insurance, flexible spending accounts, reimbursement, things like that. If you have any questions regarding things like that, you typically are referred to the benefits department. And the size of a benefits department, again, vary depending on the size of the company that you work for. I've worked with companies that only have one benefit person, and that is horrible. And I've also worked with companies that have like 4 to 5 people within one benefit department, which is ideal. Again, you definitely have to have lots of patience if you work in a benefits department because you are going to get tons of questions, and you also have to be comfortable speaking to people and understand the lingo of health insurance and flexible spending accounts. I don't even understand that lingo. I always have a million questions when I sign up for health insurance because it's so freaking confusing. One thing that I want to know is that if you work in a benefits department, and this goes for every branch of HR, you have to be able to answer the same question a million different ways. You are going to have people that just don't get it or don't want to accept the answer that you give them. So you have to get creative and answer the question in 5 different ways. Or sometimes you have the same question from different people back to back. And I know it can be a little frustrating and a little redundant, but you just, again, that's where patience comes in, and you just have to smile and answer the question, especially on orientation day. So keep that in mind. And then the next branch of HR that I want to discuss is the employee relations department. This is probably my least favorite branch of HR because I think it's one of the hardest to work in. In the employee relations branch, you honestly just deal with disciplinary actions. You are the person that employees go to complain about their manager and vice versa. In this role, you definitely have to be neutral. You have to be unbiased. You can't favor the manager just because you go out for drinks with them. And you can't favor the employee just because you feel bad for them or you, in this case, you don't like the manager. You definitely have to try your best to be unbiased and be fair. Hear both sides out. You have to make sure that you keep a record of absolutely everything, of every conversation you have with both parties. And it's tough because when someone is going to get terminated, obviously the manager goes to employee relations to make sure that everything is in order and that laws are followed. So if that's your thing, then employee relations is the way to go. But if that is not your thing and you're like me, then employee relations is not the way to go. The next branch that I want to talk about is training and development. And unfortunately, not every company has a training and development branch or department. Due to budgets, there's not always one. Typically in training and development departments, they handle orientation. They make sure that if employees need certifications, like within the healthcare industry, you typically need CPR, first aid. If you are hiring medical professionals like a nurse, you need to make sure that they keep their nursing license up to date and active. And normally the training and development department will handle that and keep track of all that information. So it is definitely a very important component of a company. They also structure, I don't know if you hear my husband sneeze, they also structure like orientation and what new employees learn at orientation. So if you're creative and you love talking to people, you're comfortable giving presentations in a large group, and training and development is for you. And then the next branch of HR that most people forget about and most people really dislike is HR compliance. The HR compliance department just makes sure that everyone is following the law within the company. I like to think of the HR compliance department as the people that make sure that the company doesn't get sued and that they don't lose their money. This department basically ensures that managers and employees are following federal and state laws. So this can be anything from not working off the clock, which you would think doesn't happen, but happens a lot. I don't know why people don't want to get paid for the work that they do, but it happens, and that's when HR compliance steps in and has that conversation with the manager, and then the manager will have that conversation with the employee. They also tend to manage a lot of the audit. For example, hospitals get audits all the time, and a lot of times it's like a surprise audit. So HR compliance just makes sure that everything's in order, that licenses are where they need to be, that queries are stored correctly. Queries are just background checks, just making sure that everything is where it needs to be, that the company has records of everything, and again, that everyone is abiding by the law. And then the next HR branch is payroll. So payroll just makes sure that employees get paid. If employees ever have a complaint regarding not getting paid enough or they got paid too much, then they are typically referred to the payroll department. My experience, the payroll department doesn't really have that much interaction with employees. Honestly, I feel like the hiring manager always goes to payroll, and then payroll goes back to the manager, and then the manager goes to the employee, which I think is really annoying. But I do understand that the payroll department has a lot of stuff to do. If there are any pay issues, then you go to them. And then the next branch of HR is definitely a unicorn. Not every company has this, although they should. And it's basically the culture and satisfaction branch of HR, and this department basically just ensures that everyone is happy, that the work environment isn't toxic, that people feel like they have the ability to grow within a company. Also, this department tends to set a common mission. It tends to set the tone for the company. They also work with hiring managers and recruiters to make sure that the person that is going to fill a specific role has certain like traits that would make them succeed in that role. So it's definitely an important one. It's quite sad that not every company has it, just because I feel like more people will be happy going to work if there was a culture and satisfaction department in the company that they work for. But hey, it all comes down to budgeting, and some companies are stuck in the freaking Stone Age when it comes to HR. Alright, you guys, so that's pretty much it. Those are the main branches that I have the most experience with and the most knowledge. I tried my best to keep this video as brief as possible. I don't know how long this video is going to be. Hopefully not that long. But if you have any other HR related questions or any other HR related videos that you want me to film, just let me know in the comments below and I'll respond to everyone. And who knows, I might create a HR video based on your question. And if you made it through this whole entire video, you might as well subscribe. I would love to have you on my channel. We are so freaking close to 1,000, you guys. So please help a girl out and subscribe. And if you enjoyed this video, give this video a big thumbs up. It lets me know that I should continue making these types of videos. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.